The biggest Tasmanian snowfalls in 30 years. Chaos on the roads with one person killed. 46 schools shut down across the state. The helicopter called in to help a stranded couple. And the Weather Bureau warns it's not over yet.
This is Southern Cross News with Joe Palmer.
Good evening, everyone. There are multiple alerts in effect tonight as authorities warn of hazardous weather conditions. Tasmanians woke today to a winter wonderland as snow fell to low levels, in some cases right down to sea level. But these beautiful scenes also created big disruptions, with major highways closed, schools shut down and several crashes. It's being described as an extremely rare weather event. We begin our coverage with Caitlin Barry in Hobart.
It was a case of good morning Snowbart. While Mount Wellington often provides the capital with a snow show, a frosty reception was right on the doorstep of homes on the outskirts of the CBD and beyond. A blanket of white covering front lawns, roofs and cars as snow bunnies emerged donning their winter woolies.
It's absolutely beautiful. Lovely winter wonderland, isn't it?
Road closures forcing many to declare an official snow day, the first in nearly 30 years.
Oh, well, you like to go to work, but I mean, I'd rather be safe than risk driving down, you know, in the ice.
A surprise long weekend with activities aplenty.
Just making the most of the weather, hoping to go down to the school and make some jumps, make some ramps that we can go off.
Have a snowball fight, building snowmen.
17-year-old surfer Tabby braving the icy waters of Clifton Beach in the early hours of this morning. Her father Pat capturing this photo as she took in the breathtaking sights, snow covering the beach and surrounding hills.
We were out there for a good hour, Dad and I, and I think it was probably one of the most memorable surfs just because it was snowing. Like, it's the first time I've obviously been in the water when there's been snow.
The young and young at heart having a ball in the frozen fairy tale. And our reporter Caitlin Barry joins us now live. Caitlin, good evening. What are conditions like at the moment?
Well, Joe, most of the snow has melted around Hobart, but it is still so cold I wouldn't recommend coming out unless you're all rugged up. Now, the Weather Bureau has advised that this cold snap is expected to stick around for the next few days, but not to the extent we've seen today in Hobart. Ben Lomond and Mount Wellington received a good dumping of snow, and that's expected to stick around also. Now, Joe, authorities are advising, as always, and urging people to drive to the conditions and take extra precautions.
Yes, indeed. Certainly a very important message. Thank you very much, Caitlin. And Tasmania Police is investigating if the weather has indeed played a role in a fatal crash near Bridgewater. A man in his 60s was killed and a woman is now in hospital after a head-on collision on Boyer Road just after midday. The road was closed for several hours as crash investigators examined the scene. Police warning motorists to drive to the conditions. And those icy conditions have caused trouble right across the state. Roads in the Meander Valley were treacherous and caused many crashes. Rose Horton joins us with this report.
Just after 7 this morning, the first of many crashes called in. Icy conditions on the Bass Highway seeing a truck and ute collide. Both the vehicles sustaining serious damage, but no one was injured. Today's conditions also causing disruptions to schools in the area, with many opting to close. Principals finding the conditions too hazardous for teachers and students to arrive safely. Here in Mole Creek, just one of the many towns transformed, completely covered in snow, turned into a winter wonderland, a sight not often seen in the area. And the snow bringing out everyone's inner child. Snow fighting one of the top priorities as it came bucketing down in Deloraine.
We made a snowman and we had a snow fight.
It's been like a childhood dream to see it snow down in Deloraine instead of up on the mountains.
It's more than I expected, so much more than I expected.
Scenes in Frankfurt also out of the ordinary as locals and tourists took their time to enjoy the blankets of snow on the scenery. The cattle seeming relatively unaffected by the blizzardy conditions.
Come to Tassie.
Come and visit. It's awesome. Yeah, way better than we expected, and so much more to see than we thought. So yeah.
It's just magic. It's just lovely, isn't it? Yeah, we're kids again. It's nice.
Rose Horton, Southern Cross News.
Police and emergency services have been stretched on the state's biggest snow day in 30 years. At Mount Field, rescue efforts are underway to help 2 people who spent the night stuck in their snowed-in car. A ground crew has been dispatched tonight after the deteriorating weather forced a helicopter to abandon its rescue plans.
With the bulk of the public under the spell of snow, police and emergency services experiencing one of their busiest days of the year. Top of the list of jobs, freeing 2 people trapped by snow in a 2-wheel drive car in the Mount Field National Park.
There's probably, I think, half or 3/4 foot of snow in that area at the moment, and we are getting some difficulty getting into that vehicle.
The rescue helicopter dispatched after efforts to reach the pair using a snowplough were deemed too hazardous.
My understanding is they were aware of the warnings, but drove to that location anyway, and I've got stuck.
As of late this afternoon, police had responded to 23 snow-related road accidents across the state, creating a drain on precious resources.
People are just not predicting the effect that those road conditions have on their driving.
The rare dump a result of a low-pressure system passing over the south of the state, bringing cold southern ocean air to Tasmania. It's our heaviest snow since the famous covering of 1986.
We also had another one in 2005, but that was even a little bit less dramatic than this one. So this is probably the biggest one in 30-odd years.
And it's set to continue over the coming days, albeit in a less spectacular fashion.
Tuesday evening and into Wednesday morning, we'll have similar conditions to what we've got today. Not quite as cold, snow not down quite as low, but apart from that, a reasonably similar setups.
Today's weather resulting in a total of 46 school closures right across the state, from Blackmans Bay to Triabunna and Mole Creek. The Department of Education says all closures have been handled smoothly.
Most schools alerted their communities and the children that this might be the reality Monday morning, so they were pretty well prepared early.
Parents should check the Education Department website for updates over the coming days. Chris Rowbottom, Southern Cross News.
Welcome back. These are some of the stories making headlines tonight. The biggest Tasmanian snowfalls in 30 years. Chaos on the roads with 1 person killed. 46 schools shut down across the state. And the Weather Bureau warns it's not over yet. Returning to our top story tonight, a blanket of white covered much of the state overnight as snow fell to lows not seen since the 1980s. And the weather event has also caused a social media storm, with Tasmanians sharing their incredible pictures. Holly Monnery takes a look at some of the best.
They predicted snow down to sea level, and that's what we had. This was the scene at Clifton Beach as a surfer braved the cold conditions.
Dad and I were out for about an hour and it was just us 2, but then slowly a few other people started paddling out just along the beach. But yeah, it was just really nice to just have myself and my dad in the water, you know, and have that bank to ourselves, and, you know, just the view as well of the snow covering everything.
Our furry friends were not quite sure what all the fuss was about, but managed to make it through the wintry blast. And it wasn't just locals taking snaps of the winter wonderland in all its glory. The boys in blue making snow angels at Fern Tree last night. The snow also bringing treacherous conditions to roads across the state, with 1 person killed in a crash near Bridgewater. Police investigating if the weather played a role in the cause.
It is extremely important that you're aware of the conditions, that your braking distances will be greater. And that you need to leave a lot of space and reaction time between you and other vehicles.
Metro cancelling some services due to closed roads, and disruptions for dozens of schools right across the state, with closures from Blackmans Bay to Triabunna and Mole Creek.
Our schools were well prepared on Friday because the Weather Bureau was able to give us an early warning about the snow, so Most schools alerted their communities and the children that this might be the reality Monday morning.
The Bureau says a snow event like this is rare, but similar weather is expected on Wednesday morning.
Of course, there's snow and slush and a bit of water on roads at the moment. With those cold conditions overnight, pretty close to 0 degrees in quite a few populated areas of Tasmania, we expect to see some icy conditions developing on those roads.
To see more featured photos, head to our Facebook page. Holly Monnery, Southern Cross News.